Welcome back to the Breathwork channel. My name is Jesse. This is the Breath Lab, where we look at the most up-to-date research in the field of breath. Today's study is one that, let me just stop right here. If you clicked on this video, did you expect at some point that I would say, maybe near the end of the video, that is why nasal breathing is superior to mouth breathing? Were you expecting that? If so, let me know in the comments. Is that what you expected? If that is the case, my friend, you are in for a treat, because I will not be saying that in this video again. In fact, in this video, we're not concerned. This particular study is not concerned with which one is better. Of course, better is a relative term. You need the context. You need a lot of other things to know what is better. They're not concerned with that. They asked a different question. The question asked by this particular group was, when a human being is at rest, does the mode of breathing affect how different regions of the brain synchronize and communicate? So to find this out, what they did is they took 20 healthy individuals, they put them in MRIs, and they said, relax, lay there, breathe through your nose. And then they took those same individuals later and they said, relax, lay there, and breathe through your mouth. They took scans in the fMRI and they compared. What made this such an interesting study is that they're comparing the same people against the same people. It's not that they have these two groups of people and the control group had this experience and this other completely different group of people, they had this experience. No, these were the same brains, just using different modes of breathing, and then they compared. So many breathwork enthusiasts will probably ask, well, did they change the rate of breath? How deep were they breathing? None of that was measured. They didn't say do any of those things, but they did say, we want you to be at rest. So we're just looking for whatever that breathing might look like for these individuals at rest. So the assumption is it's not hard and heavy breathing, but all they really say is that they didn't give them any kind of guidance as far as how fast or how deep. They just gave them guidance as far as, is it nasal on this scan or is it mouth breathing on this scan? So what were they looking for in this study? So they were looking for functional connectivity. And basically what that means is what different parts of the brain will rise and fall together. This lets us know a little bit more about how the brain is connecting and communicating while we're doing nasal breathing in this case, and while we're doing mouth breathing in the other. It's not saying that one is better. It's just asking the question, what regions in the brain seem to communicate the strongest when we're breathing nasally, and which parts of the brain communicate more strongly when we're breathing through the mouth. So let's talk about what they found. When participants were engaging in nasal breathing, we saw a stronger connection in the parts of the brain that are associated with self-referential processing, with internal awareness, with attention, and higher order thinking. Nasal breathing was also associated with parts of the brain that help us to organize our internal experience. And when those same participants used mouth breathing, we saw higher activation in the brainstem and the subcortical regions of the brain. These were all the parts of the brain that were associated with fundamental regulation rather than higher order integration. Again, not one better than the other. Now, there's an important nuance here. It's not that there were no overlaps. It's not just that nasal breathing does this, mouth breathing does this. Yes, there are things that we definitely saw that were different, but we did see some overlaps. And that was activation in the hippocampus, in the amygdala, and the insula. Now, this means that both mouth breathing and nasal breathing are involved in our processing of things like interoception, things like emotional processing as well. And let's not forget memory. So when we are talking about nasal breathing and mouth breathing, they're both involved in how we experience the world and how we remember those experiences. So this study doesn't tell us one is better. This study just tells us that there are differences, that the way that you breathe, whether it's through your nose or through your mouth, it will affect how parts of your brain fire together. Now, there are implications that we can draw from this. One might just be that the way that we breathe affects the way we experience reality. If we're breathing nasally, it may just be that we have an experience that is more internally focused. If we're breathing through our mouth, it may be that our experience is more regulation or externally focused. The reality is that we love just to say, this is better than the other, but it's not always that simple. The reality is just simply saying there is a difference between nasal breathing and mouth breathing, and that your brain is paying attention where you put that air is pretty huge, because most people don't realize that there's a difference. Most people go through their entire lives thinking it doesn't matter if you're breathing through your nose or if you're breathing through your mouth. So we're not talking about CO2 in this episode. We weren't talking about performance in this episode. We weren't talking about mood or techniques. We're simply dissecting a study that shows us that every breath you take is being observed by your brain, and it has an effect on how your brain organizes and synchronizes itself. How will you take your next breath? So friends, thanks so much for being here on the Breath Lab here with me. My name is Jesse. I'm looking forward to next week whenever I'm going to dissect a study that went under the radar for quite some time, but one of you sent it in to me and said, hey, let's talk about this. So it's going to be a pretty big one. So I can't wait to share it with you. It may already be up here somewhere. If not, I'll see you next week. Thanks again.